to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we've got 6 games here on a kind of weird slate on Monday night in the NBA. Only 2 teams on the back-to-back. That's the Clippers and the Suns as they face each other. We've got 5 other games, but a few guys on the injury report, especially for that Pacers and Celtics game. Some fun ones out there, probably some pace in a lot of these games, but we'll take a look at best bets in this video. We also have play-up props up as we do each and every weekday, so go ahead and like and subscribe to that page. Follow along all season with us. Also want you to head to thelines.com and use the props finder tool up there under the NBA tab. Make sure you're getting the best odds available to you from all of these books that are giving us bets this NBA season. Nate, let's go ahead and get into your first best bet as we both spend a lot of time talking about this Milwaukee Jazz game because we know who is and who isn't playing.
Yeah, and we know that Giannis is going to come out to looking to back up his words probably. So without even picking a winner, I'll take Giannis to go 35-10 at even money here. Damian Lillard is ruled out for personal reasons. And Giannis, if you were not aware, called out the entire team, starting with the equipment manager, which is a nice take. Maybe he's been watching Ted Lasso and decided to involve that guy. But yeah, he needs to do better. Coach needs to do better. Everyone around me needs to do better. And I need to do better, which is obviously going to mean him being very aggressive against a weird Jazz team that I'll talk about in a minute. But I mean, Giannis has played 2 games without Dame this year. He had 54 against Indy. He had 35 at Orlando, which is a better defensive team. And of course, that's on the road. His usage rate, 45%. And he shot 72% from the field in those games. Got to the line, also averaged 11 rebounds. Lately, I mean, he's been ramping up the effort on the boards, even with Dame in the lineup, 35 points a game, 14 rebounds. And the usage rate only 33%. So you can expect that to be higher here with limited options around him. The Jazz, I mean, they are kind of a tough matchup when they were playing Walker Kessler down low more last year. Now they've kind of, gone in and out in terms of that lineup with more John Collins. Not going to, Lauri Markkanen, that combo is not going to be able to stop Giannis. I don't know if Walker Kessler is either. I think, some of his recent results against the Jazz were just skewed by blowouts. Or, I mean, the other one last season, he did go 30-15. With his sidekicks, Drew and Middleton active. Okay, but so the Jazz, I have to first just kind of say mea culpa on Friday for saying they can cover in Boston. They did not get off the bus, and they got trucked, and then they turn around the next night and win in Philly against the Embiid-less Sixers. But, I mean, what you see in those, even without Embiid in there, is a real regression defensively from what I was saying. Like, oh, they've been pretty good in their last 7. Maybe some of that was strength of schedule because their last 2 on the road, they are back to being the road Jazz, allowing the second most fast break points, 8th most offensive rebounds, the most 3-point attempts and plenty of makes, and 3rd most free throw attempts after being top 10 in all of those in their nice little win streak here. So, I mean, while Giannis isn't the guy making the threes, that definitely indicates the Bucks are going to have some success offensively, better spacing, and then he's going to do what he does, which is just knife in there, get his points down low. And an aggressive Giannis is a Giannis you want to tail for sure. I haven't seen a top scorer market yet, but if it's minus 150 or better, you definitely can take Giannis to outscore Markkanen, Clarkson, whoever else on the Jazz might come out and score here because he's probably looking at 35 to 38 points here. The core bet is 35.5 points. Like I just trust that first and foremost is that he's going to back up his words.
That's fair. Yeah, he's going to come out, and that's why you definitely attack the rebounds, and the points are high. But I mean, this is a good spot against this Jazz team for a power forward of his nature. Kind of always a good spot for him, sometimes worse than others, but this is definitely one of those more Swiss cheese style defenses that we'll see on the road for the Utah Jazz, as we've talked about consistently. So I'll just get into my bet since it's relevant here, which is I'm actually going Brook Lopez under 22.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And I'm going to parlay that with the Milwaukee money line. And it's pretty good juice at about plus 145, wherever you can find it, right around there. If you find plus 150, that's great. I'd play it down like plus 135. That's fine. I'm really just taking the Brolo under here and adding in the game just to get the plus money and feeling like, yeah, like you said, the team is going to respond with whatever to Giannis's words. The Brook bet here is based on I think a little bit of inflation on his lines because Dame is out, and they don't really know what to do with this. To be honest, I don't think the books know how to really cap this particular game right now. If you look at the Chris Middleton stuff, I'll talk about that in the player props video. That's a very good example of it. Like, I don't think they know what to do with Chris Middleton's stats right now. Now that he's playing and Dame isn't, and we don't know what it's like without a point guard in there. So we'll figure that out. But for Brook, like I said, 22.5 is too high. He's gone under 9 of his last 10. Even in the 2 that he played without Dame this season, he had 13 points, rebounds, and assists, and 6 points, rebounds, and assists in those 2 games, playing 28 minutes or so in those games. This isn't a good matchup for him, and if he is out there, there's like Walker Kessler, like you said, not in the starting lineup, playing around 20 minutes at times, sub 20 minutes in certain games, and that's why you would want to keep Brook out there, I would imagine, even if he is out there. If he's guarding a John Collins, or if he's guarding, where's John Collins standing on offense? In the corner on the 3-point line. So how is Brook going to get rebounds from out there, right? He's not. He's going to go back to sort of wing Brook, if you will, right? There's games where he's playing like the Cavs or maybe the Magic, even the Pacers with Miles Turner, since they play similarly, and he can really run up and down with Miles Turner as well as anyone. Like those games, maybe you take some Brook stuff because the minutes will be there. He needs to bang body, or like the rebounds. I'm saying too, you would take, right, because the minutes would be there, and the down low sort of play for him would be there. And it's not going to be that way necessarily as much in this game. And just leave the lane open for Giannis. It's back to that sort of Chris Middleton, Giannis 2-man game with whomever else on the wing, which was at times Jrue Holiday also cutting. So you have, one cutter, one wing, Giannis and Chris go ahead and do your thing. And then Brook plays off of that at the 3-point line. And I don't think the points will be there for him as a result. If he's not like going to the free throw line at all, which is only when he's playing down low, etc., then that's when you go ahead and take him. And on the season, he's gone under this 27 out of the 36 games that he's played, only looking at like 10 rebound chances on average, right? And some of those are inflated when he does play down low in those games where there's true centers that are banging down low against him a lot more. And that's not going to be the case in this one. It's going to be a lot more wing play, obviously. If the Jazz can keep up on offense, it'll probably be like a decently fun, fast-paced scoring game. If they can't, then the Bucks will just probably blow them out, and the Jazz will continue to play no defense.
Yeah, surprisingly, Brook in his 2 games without Dame, we're looking at 3 and 13 PRA. So I would have thought, like, I'm scared, like, maybe he's the secondary option here alongside Giannis, but that certainly hasn't been the case in those matchups.
Yeah.
I would say maybe you want the over on his threes. It's juiced to 2 threes because the Jazz are giving up a lot of 3-point attempts lately, and because he's going to be drawing those bigs away and firing, you would assume without Dame out there, they're going to need him for spacing. But yeah, I'm fine with the under on total bulk stats because his value is more than what he puts in the stat sheet for sure. Mm-hmm. So the Miami Heat, Josh, it's a small slate. We got to take what we know here, and I will take the Heat to cover 4 points against the Rockets. They are home for the first time since Christmas, and start to celebrate, get excited if you're a Miami Heat fan, I guess, because you got Bam back. And I was initially looking at this game as an over because Rockets, they changed the way they play without Dillon Brooks. The Heat had been going over a lot at home. Then I realized that's just because Bam was missing those home games. Now Bam is back, and that means very good defense. It also means fewer points. But, instead of looking at under instead, I would still consider that if it spikes to like 220, 221, because it is rising from it's already risen 3-4 points from where it opened. Consider the Heat money line with the under if you can get it high enough. But I think I just want the Heat to win here because of Bam and because he is the best matchup I think you can throw at Alperen Şengün, who has really been carrying this Rockets team and been their most effective offensive player, making up for the fact that Brooks has been out by ramping up their offense. But I will say, like, their defense has been much better in their last 3 to 6 games. I mean, they've been without Brooks for 6, and in the last 3 there, they've dropped to 6th in the defensive rating. They're top 8 in the things you might worry about: second chance points, fast break points off turnovers, etc. But Şengün in 4 matchups with the Heat, 10.8 points per game, minus 32 on the floor. Fred VanVleet, very inefficient. His last 4 against the Heat. Jalen Green, very inefficient against most people, also against the Heat, shooting less than 40%. I just don't know where the Rockets are going to get points in the clutch here when you have Bam Adebayo, the best pick-and-roll defender in the league, I will say, on Şengün, who does most of his damage off pick and roll. Like, just look at the numbers. Their defensive rating is 6 points better per 100 possessions with Bam. They do score less without Jimmy Butler, and they will be without him. But Tyler Hero back in there, he'd been playing better in that sense. And even without Bam for a couple of those home games, I mean, they were third in paint points allowed, allowing a lot of threes, but at league average on the shooting from 3-point range, and sixth overall in opponents' field goal percentage. So, I mean, this is still the Heat team that can put the clamps on. Those numbers are skewed in part because they're playing really good offenses in some of those home games. I don't think the Rockets are that. I'm not buying into them being a team you can trust on the road all the time, just because they have won a few road games at this point. They're coming off that Milwaukee win, maybe smelling themselves, but the Heat are a team you cannot roll over. Like, this ain't Atlanta or Washington or something where you're just going to have a happy-go-lucky 120 scoring when you go into Miami again when they have their first home game in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I support it. It makes total sense. My thing that I said before we started recording was, I just am now only targeting the Heat when they're 100% supposed to lose, and then you go ahead and feel a little bit better about them. They're definitely not supposed to lose this game. I don't think Dillon Brooks makes a huge difference. I do think you can rely on the difference in that Houston team on the road versus at home. I do buy into that they're much better there. There's so many young guys on that team. It makes complete sense. So it's a correlation that I'm definitely buying into. And with the Heat at home, if you think they're better at home, they have been this season as well, even though they had a really nice road trip recently. That's definitely the case, obviously without Jimmy too. So they're kind of used to that at this point. I don't really put stock into it anymore. Like, the with and without Jimmy stuff isn't really that relevant, especially this season. And Tyler Hero is going to be a lot more free to do what he needs to do in this game as well. We didn't talk about him too much, but he's had a couple of nice games. Obviously, he still randomly disappears, and you don't understand why. But when he's going to have a high usage like that in a game that the backcourt's going to be a lot easier to move through, especially Tari Eason also out in this one. I'm with the Heat at a small spread under 5 like this. I'm going to close out with more of a lean, Nate, because we don't know much about this Phoenix and Clippers game to end the night on the West Coast out here. My lean, though, is that the Clippers will win this thing. And to get it back to some decent juice, I'm going to take the Bucks win instead of the Heat win. We're both talking about how we might parlay it, but I'll go with the Bucks on it and get it up to plus 158-ish around there.
Minus 130, sir, for those
for both of them?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I had the Heat in there. You had that at plus 140 for the Heat?
That's right. Yeah, if you took the Heat, you would be in plus money. Right. But Milwaukee, 9-point favorites, you're not going to get that much juice from that.
All right, well, it's a lean, so we'll take the minus 130 and move on. I don't think with this lean there's that much I'm concerned about, because I don't think we're seeing anywhere near 3, right, of the big 3 for Phoenix. More likely 1. Might potentially, right? KD missed a game recently. It's possible that he would sit in this one after they did get beat to the Grizzlies without Ja last night. They're both coming off losses, but the Clippers are a better team. And I don't know if you saw LeBron dunk over Paul George with a guy hanging on his hip last night. He just turned back the clock, man. That was absolutely bonkers to watch. He took off from right inside the foul line. That was emblematic of that game last night. Like, LeBron was like, I'm winning this game, because he's been putting up 30 points and they've been losing. And he was like, that ain't happening tonight with this 30 points. So that's what happened to the Clippers last night. What happened to the Suns was, I don't know, man. They gave up 25 points to Marcus Smart, who was dropping threes all over the place on him. So there's some problems with the defense that have been there the whole time. And if KD and Book both score 25 or less, like last night, what are you supposed to do? So the Clippers defense, everything about the Clips, man, like, the Clippers defense has been fine. It's way better when Kawhi is in. Kawhi has played 4 of the 5 back-to-backs that they've had this season. And he's been very good in 2 or 3 of them, and bad in one of them where they got beat by the Mavs. They're pretty bad. But in the rest of them, yeah, he's looking at like 31 points, 23, 38. He's getting in on the board. So if he's going to be in there, then yeah, this is just a much better team. Since Harden got there, they've now only lost once with Kawhi in the lineup, and that was last night to the Lake Show since Harden arrived. So with both of them on the floor, things actually they're still pretty slow, but it's so efficient right now that there have been plenty of overs because their offensive rating is up to about 122 when those two are on the floor together and in the games that they're there for as well, right? So, and that's their on-court rating together in that two-man lineup, which is very good. Paul George is finding he's basically just like a glorified, really good shooting guard at this point, to be honest. He's not quite doing the do-it-all stuff, but that's why Kawhi's been so important to their defense. And if he's going to play, then I'll buy into it that it's more of a 114 defensive rating, which is what it is when he's in versus the 124 that it skyrockets to when he's not in. And yeah, I think this is a pretty good matchup as well for Ivica. We'll see. Nurk will be in there, but I think Zubac is going to get minutes as a result of the fact that if Nurk is playing tonight, which he should be, then yeah, we're talking about plenty of minutes for him as well because they rely on him to get assists and do everything else and they actually have to run stuff through Nurk when they only have one of the big three on the floor. With the big three, there's historic stuff going on. 135 offensive rating with that three-man lineup in like 62 minutes, right? Like 3 coast-to-coast episodes is how long that they've been on the floor together. So I don't think that with just one of them tonight, which is most likely what we'll see, and even if not, like we said, the Clippers have been playing their guys on the back-to-back, so I'll take them with the money line. I'll just take the minus 130 with them and the Buccos.
I guess, yeah, you're saying one of them being Booker, I guess, because Durant, I mean, he was out with the hamstring strain. Will he go on a back-to-back? Beal, the lower back flares up all the time. Will he go?
That is what I'm saying.
Those are the guys who are likely to sit. I mean, the Clippers might in turn sit somebody, but I trust, like, from an organizational standpoint, which is crazy to say, right? Like, I trust the Clippers to give you a fair shake and to try to win this game. The Suns are this year's Clippers. There's two ways to look at that. There's two ways to look at that. And one is to just say, like, they're the ones playing the long game, not caring about the regular season, giving their stars all the rest that they might need. And they're also kind of like the Clippers when they got Harden and they could not win a game because they were integrating this big three and trying to figure out how the pieces work. And like you said, it's been like 2.5 games-ish where they've actually had them on the floor. And against Memphis last night, they just could not figure it out. Nobody could get going. So, I mean, when you have Kawhi just like cooking people to the point that, you know, when you hear like the entire gym just start to go like, oh, he's going to score. It doesn't matter who is on him. Like he's just cooking people. Yeah. As long as Kawhi's active, I'll put the Clippers in whatever money line parlay you want. And I think you're still definitely live if you bet it now before you know which of these stars are going to sit.
Yeah. It might not move that much if like Paul George is ruled out or what have you, right? And then also both of the big three on the side. Like this is at minus 6.5, in my opinion, mostly because like they're expecting both KD and Beal to sit, right? So I don't know that it jumps too much. I think you can wait to a degree if you're putting it in a parlay with things. But yeah, if you want to hit it now with the knowledge, like the strong assumption that two of it's really just Booker for the Suns, then I'm with that. So that's all the time we have for you in the best bets, though. Continue to follow along, subscribe to that page, and check out the play of props we also have up for you today. Until we see you next, happy betting.